Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J blog series. It's Friday, August 29th, 2025. And on Fridays, we talk about human behavior and justification. And this week, we've been talking about perseverance. Forgive my appearance. This is the last week of summer. I have to start teaching next week. And so I thought I'd go this week without shaving. And so this is what it looks like for me after 4 days. Some people, it's a veritable forest and their faces are covered. Not me. It comes in gradually, slowly. But nonetheless, I'll be shaving regularly, or more regularly, I should say, starting next week. All right, so what about perseverance? Well, in most cases, people quit not because they can't achieve their goals, but usually they quit because they felt some kind of a magnetic pull in a different direction, maybe to something else that's more rewarding in the short term. It's easy then to get distracted with new information, new stimuli, new opportunities, and much more, to say nothing of what happens to you when you encounter serious obstacles or challenges. And so in a nutshell, I describe these as the push and pull factors of perseverance. The push factors are the obstacles, the challenges that drive you away from your original goal. Too many things keep coming up, making it difficult for you to continue for whatever reasons. The pull factors are the stimuli and the opportunities that present themselves, and then you allow yourself to become distracted or to lose interest in the original project. And of course, this can also relate to your previous experiences. So if you've only known success, how do you respond when you confront a serious challenge or possible failure for the first time? On the other hand, there's some people who just never stop, no matter what. They never give up trying. They have this kind of fierce will to achieve their objectives. And so what distinguishes between these two kinds of individuals? Well, according to psychologists, the key comes down to your belief in yourself and your belief that you'll ultimately be successful. So that is in the latter category, people don't really see things as a failure. Rather, it's feedback. They get information, results that can then be used to review what's happened and enhance, hopefully, what they're going to do next. Many people might second guess themselves. They'll bail out, they'll drop out at the first opportunity when they don't succeed. They think, oh, I'm just not cut out for this, or I'm not capable. Or they've forgotten that old adage, if you at first you don't succeed, try again. So with respect to perseverance, the key then involves acknowledging what's happened, see what the results are telling you. And you can say to yourself, I generated a result. This is only temporary, instead of this is a failure. Process the information. Instead of being a failure, it becomes a learning opportunity. And then you can decide what's the important information, the important lessons to be learned, and then you can set for a course correction or motivate yourself to continuing pursuing that activity and making progress accordingly. And so quitting and persevering all comes down to, in that sense, or at least this very specific sense, of how people interpret the outcomes that they're receiving, and then what's their response to that. So Dr. Martin Seligman, famous psychologist, some of you may have heard of, conducted some of the kind of groundbreaking research in this regard, and he actually published a book called Learned Optimism, if you're interested. But according to Seligman, the difference between those who give up and those who persevere and never quit, it has to do with their explanatory styles. So an explanatory style refers to how we explain or interpret the undesirable occurrences or so-called failures. So people who give up frequently have this, again, distinctive permanent explanation style. So for example, take the gym goer who they've reached a stalemate in their weight loss or their training goals, whatever that might be. And they explain it, for example, by saying things like, oh, well, diets never work, or I have lousy genetics, so I'm always going to be big. And then these justifications confirm for them that this is going to last forever. There's no way around it, so to speak. Others who have had similar plateaus and challenges, but they'll explain them differently, different explanatory style. Oh, well, I had far too much cheat food this week, right? So that's the problem. I found that the perfect diet I haven't perfected or figured out what the best combination of diet and exercise for my body type, what that should be, okay? And so that kind of an explanation implies that the results are transient. They're temporary, and they can be overcome. So people who see unfavorable outcomes as a permanent failure are more likely than to give up and then to extrapolate their failure to other aspects of their lives, including their own self-esteem, And so this is what's so harmful about having that kind of a mindset. In contrast, people who never quit regard the problems as hurdles along the way, and they're transient. In fact, they could even be wonderful learning opportunities in the best sense of the term. So success is unavoidable if you learn from your mistakes. You avoid repeating what didn't work previously, and you refuse to give up. And so that refusal to give up is sometimes called grit in popular culture. Grit represents the individual's perseverance and passion for long-term goals. And it's comprised of two factors: perseverance of effort, which is what we've been talking about, but also the consistency of one's interests. And through various studies, people have looked at grit, and it's consistently explained by factors beyond just pure intelligence, shall we say. There's a variety of things that affect or go into comprising one's ability then to develop grit or maintain grit, especially in the face of adversity. And so there's actually a 12-item grit scale that I'm going to share with you, and feel free to play along and take this in as we go. Okay, hope you can see that okay. So this is developed by Duckworth and her colleagues. And so just go ahead and answer these along the way. So there's 12 items on the scale. You can score them for yourselves. And of course, you can go back and rewind the vlog and so forth and have a look again if you need to. And so for each of the 12 statements, you're just going to respond to everything from, well, the 5 possible answers from very much like me to not at all like me. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, I have overcome setbacks to conquer an important challenge. Again, respond very much like me, mostly like me, somewhat like me, not much like me, not like me at all. Number 2, new ideas and projects sometimes distract me from previous ones. Again, 5 choices. Number 3, my interests change from year to year. Number 4, setbacks don't discourage me. Very much like me, mostly like me, somewhat like me, not much like me, not like me at all. Number 5, I've been obsessed with a certain idea or project for a short time, but later lost interest. Again, 5 responses. How about this one? Very simple. Number 6, I am a hard worker. Be honest with yourself. How would you respond to that one? Okay, number 7, I often set a goal but later choose to pursue a different one. 8, I have difficulty maintaining my focus on projects that take more than a few months to complete. That one I find particularly interesting from my own standpoint. Number 9, I finish whatever I begin. 10, I've achieved a goal that took years of work. 11, I become interested in new pursuits every few months. And then finally, number 12, simple. I am diligent. Okay? So I don't think that we have any population results for this. There may be out there. I wasn't able to pick up any or anything that was really good or reliable. So it's not really about comparing yourself to the population. It's more about just how you score. So, and if you're going to score these, here's the scoring information, all right? So for the questions, and you see them numbered there, 1, 4, 6, 9, 10, and 12, you assign the points accordingly. Very much like me, you get 5 down to 1, not like me at all. And then you reverse score for questions 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 11. So again, there, if it's very much like me, you get 1 point, and then not like me at all, you get 5. So add them all up, and you get a total score, right? So you're going to go from a minimum of 12 to a maximum of 60, and then divide by 12, and then that gives you your, kind of score of exactly how gritty you are. So if you're you can, range from a low of 1, not gritty at all, to a maximum of 5, extremely gritty. Okay, so again, it's not important to think about the population here. What's important is that you think about yourself and how do you measure up on this particular scale? And are there aspects or areas where you do find yourself being more gritty, more persistent, more able to focus and maintain your effort over a period of time? Okay, now, having said that, I think there's one more crucial piece that's missing here, and that's how important is the task or objective. That's not what's being measured in this particular scale. And so if that's something that's crucially important, are you able to focus then more intensely? And are you able to be more perseverant under those conditions? And so a lot of what we're talking about really comes down to life's priorities and what you deem to be especially important or worthwhile. And so if you have a low scale on the score, that doesn't mean that you can't focus or persevere. But I mean, in particular, if the stakes are high, maybe you can under certain circumstances. And so that's the key in my view. Whatever your character trait is, however you score on this generally, more importantly, find out what matters in your life. And then that's where you should be focusing your energies, obviously. That's where you should be perseverant. Like, for example, raising children. That requires perseverance. That's just one example, but that's an area where you, in my opinion, you should never give up. Okay? Like maybe one of the toughest people I know, at least in my own personal life, happens to be one of my sisters. She sets a goal, she makes a commitment, and she's like a proverbial pit bull with a bone. She basically almost always accomplishes what she puts her mind to. She just won't give up, no matter what the obstacles. Now, how do I know this? Well, I've seen her successfully pursue important goals on multiple occasions. But most important of all, I've seen what she's done in coping with the experiences with raising her eldest child, okay, who has suffered from the last 12 years as an adult from a pretty serious addiction problem. And my sister has been through hell and back on more than one occasion, shall we say. But here's the point. She never has given up, ever. And after 12 years, just this past summer, her daughters finally entered into a longer term kind of rehab situation. So again, they've been there for a couple of months. There's no guarantees of long-term, permanent, lifetime success or whatever. But my point is how many parents along the way have given up? They gave up at some point on their children after so much pain and lying and disappointment and you name it. And well, we actually have a pretty good idea of how many parents have given up. If you just look around, look at people who are homeless, who are struggling and living out on the streets, who've lost everything. A lot of those people have addictions, and more importantly, or just as importantly, they've lost all of their family supports and connections. People just gave up on them at some point. Well, my sister had to make some incredibly tough decisions along the way, but nonetheless, she never gave up. So we'll see what happens. But wouldn't we like to, all of us to think that, well, if it was our child who was, or a loved one, suffering from an addiction, from a life-threatening disease, what have you, wouldn't you like to think that you'd be there for them? Of course you would. I would. I don't know of many people who would say no to that. And they're probably the psychopaths of the world. So that's my advice, in effect. Identify what and who's truly important in your life. What deeply matters to you. And then that's where, of course, you should be focusing your energies. And that's where you should persevere, no matter what. And if you do that, then that's all you can do. And you can sort of let go of the small stuff, let go of the unimportant stuff, the don't sweat the small stuff notion. So just keep your focus then on the big stuff, the big picture. And remember the 3 P's that I talked about earlier this week as well. Plan, persevere, and then be patient. And things almost always work out in the end. Okay, until next time, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance.